everyone. My name is Mo Medeli, and welcome to How to Publish an Angular CLI app as a GitHub page. Before we proceed, some shameless self-promotion. I'm the founder and architect at Credacious, and Credacious, we're building what we call the credible web, and I'm going to show what Credacious, the homepage at least, looks like. But what does a credible web mean? What does Credacious do? Well, for the first time, Credacious will be your primary stream of credible content and credible people. We are a combination of credible Facebook-like and Twitter-like streaming. If you're interested in introducing credibility to the web and to your streams, join us at Credacious and start building it up with credible content and credible people, credible conversations. All right, and we got that out of the way. Now, what is our intent for today in a little bit more detail? We're going to build an Angular application, a very simple seed Angular application. We'll have it running locally, and we'll publish it to GitHub and have it run on GitHub, not just as a repository where you can access it or others can, but GitHub is going to act like a host, and it will run this simple Angular 2 application. Now the question is, why would anybody want to do that? And the reason for this is that sometimes I know we have Plunker or other ways of sharing code with others, but sometimes you want to do something a little bit more comprehensively, and if you want to, and you do it through GitHub, through your repos, but just sharing the repo in itself, although has tremendous value, you can make sure that the people you share your repo to or who have access to that GitHub repo can also run that application. Obviously, GitHub Pages, which is basically the system or the infrastructure that this runs on, or these run on, are not intended to be your end-all server if you have a lot of traffic or anything like that, or for a very complex application. Obviously, that's not what this is intended for. This is for tests and some concepts and sharing things like that. Okay? Now, let's go ahead with showing some of what a GitHub page is. And a GitHub page, that was the actual application, but if you go to your repo, and this is my repo profile, you're going to see there are different repositories. This is a very interesting one. It's a special repository, and it happens to be my personal GitHub page. So GitHub has provided an infrastructure for you to not only publish your apps, but also publish your own personal repository that you want to show things about yourself, perhaps. It's kind of like an About Me page or a LinkedIn page or what have you. And it also demonstrates your capacity to understand and write code. All right, so it's really neat. You can share this with people that want to hire you or your customers or what have you, or other developers. Now, you can click on this repo, and of course, you have your standard look and feel of a GitHub repo. But as I said, once you have this personal page published, you can also run it. And there it is, and you run it, and here it is. You have your personal GitHub page. This happens to be mine. And there are different templates you can download along with Bootstrap or what have you. And there are different videos on that can teach you how to do that easily. We're not going to get into that today. I do want to show what a personal GitHub page is. Now, we're not going to focus on this either. I do suggest you set something up like this before you continue with this video, because this video assumes that you have something like this, because now we're going to go and create a GitHub page for your application, not just for yourself. And the way you do that is first to go to your personal GitHub page URL, and you just suffix it with the name of the project. And that project now, this is a bona fide Angular 2 project that is running on GitHub on its own GitHub page, which is really neat. So you can not only share this with people to see how it runs, but you can also, of course, share the repo itself. And the repo is here. So you have the repo, and this is a URL for the repo, but not the URL for its GitHub page. The repo for the GitHub page is the way I have it set up, your own URL, personal page URL, suffix with the name of that project, and there it is, it's running. All right, so how do we get to this? All right, first, some prerequisites, some cautions. We're very focused on creating a page like this. So there are going to be some prerequisites and some assumptions, and before you get to this, you have to make sure those are in place. All right. You should be able to create your own personal GitHub page. It'll be your username.github.io. There are resources out there that tell you how to do this, and you just search for them, and you'll see videos and instructions. Of course, GitHub has its own instructions there, and they're half decent. I don't like them too much, to be honest, but I think you can go, as I said, go to the web and do some searches. There are tutorials out there how to set this up for yourself. There are different variations of this, so you have to look at these and see which one fits best for you, and do that before you actually implement the contents of this video. All right. I also assume you have some very basic and fundamental understanding of Git flow and the workflow of Git. It doesn't have to be complicated. You probably don't have to go anywhere. I think with what we're doing today, you'll get the idea if you don't use Git. But nowadays, if you're a serious software developer, you should have a fairly good understanding what Git is and how it works and what the variations are. All right. All right, so this tutorial, by the way, is intended to host a very simple Angular 2 application. GitHub Pages are by nature static pages, okay, which Angular is not. Angular is a single page application infrastructure. But you can set an Angular application with one page to run as a single page within GitHub Pages. I don't know if you understood all that gobbledygook, but there it is. Now, if you do want to host a more complex Angular 2 application, an Angular 2 application with different routes and different views and different pages, there's a hack that you can put in place within GitHub Pages to accomplish that. And you can look for it, search for it, and that's readily available too if you, for some reason, need to host a more sophisticated multi-page routed SPA on a GitHub page. But that's outside the scope of this tutorial as well. Another assumption is that you have Angular CLI installed. So make sure you do that. You can go onto Angular CLI's GitHub page, and there are instructions on how to npm install globally Angular CLI. And once you do, you just do an ng, which is its command interface, ng, and -v, and the one I have is one of the latest, if it's not the latest. I updated this a week or two ago. So this is 100-beta.19-3. There might be a later version. I don't know for this video, but you may want to check. But this video is based on this version of Angular CLI. All right. And that is basically it. I do want to emphasize that once we're all said and done, the project that you're going to be running is going to have a particular name. We'll give it a different name than this that we have over here. call it something like AJS project or AJS2 example, something like that. But it is preceded with your own personal project page URL, and I suggest you have that set up before proceeding with this video tutorial. Now, let's start. All right, so I talked about Git. I'm using the GitHub desktop client. Of course, we could use Git's command line interface, but this is better visually. The intent is not to make this overly complicated or show that I can type something on the terminal. The intent is to basically show how this interacts with the repository and how you can create one. All right, so let's go ahead and start this off. All right. So before we do this, we're going to create a local repository using Angular. A local Angular 2 project using Angular-cli. All right. And the way you do it is you say ng new and the name of the project. And this is going to create an entire folder infrastructure for you for that project, and it's going to seed an Angular 2 project, which is really neat. This is Webpack based, this version of Angular CLI. They've removed System.js for various reasons, one being efficiency and speed, and another, Webpack seems to be overtaking System.js with respect to functionality and efficiency. So the Angular CLI team is using Webpack, has incorporated Webpack in this, and that is used for its development bundling, etc., etc. So what is the name of the project we're going to create? We'll call it AJS CLI seed. Okay, and when we actually hit enter, this is going to take a long time because there are going to be a bunch of folders that are created. One of them being node modules, which I'm sure many are familiar with. And node modules in particular is going to take a long time because there are a lot of nested modules that need to be re-imported. So this is going to take at least 5 or 6 minutes, and we'll pause the video. Okay, welcome back. And where we left off was we were going to use Angular CLI to seed a new Angular 2 project, and this is the command that we left off with. And I told you, as when you hit enter, it's going to take quite a while. And we've already done that, and I'm not going to execute this command, and I'm going to show you what the results are. This basically, as I said, created a Angular 2 seed project. Let me show you, and there it is, AJS CLI seed. So let me go to AJS CLI directory, and this is what it looks like. This is a seed project, and I've already opened it in Sublime. And if you look at it, it has this folder structure, of course, package.json, some configuration files for Angular and for TSLint, and et cetera, et cetera. It's got but the main folder here is the source folder, where, and again, the intent of this video is not to develop an application in Angular 2. That's for another time. This is basically, in a very focused way, to publish an Angular 2 application, a simple one, to a GitHub page. So I'm showing you how Angular CLI can come help us with this. This is a very basic look and feel of an Angular CLI seed project. All right. So let's move on. So now we have this project created, but as you know, we want to publish this as a repo on GitHub. And how do we go about doing that? Okay. Now let's go to the GitHub client. All right. And we say repo, and we give it a repository. We say new repository under GitHub client, new repository, and we're going to say add. And the reason we're saying add is because we already have a folder which we just created, the AJS CLI seed folder, and we want to basically make it converted to a repository. Okay, and let me select it. Software development, GitHub to your mentoring, and there it is. And we say open. All right, and add the repository. All right, so there it is. The repository is added. Now, what's interesting is that this repository, this goes to your understanding of Git, and it's not really material right now, but I'm going to mention it anyway, that this repository is sitting on your machine, on your disk, and GitHub on the host, on the cloud, is not aware of it. So we don't see that AJS CLI seed yet. All right? And the way we see it is now that we have it locally created and we've basically converted this directory, the AJS CLI seed directory folder, to a local repo, we go to the client, the GitHub client, and we say publish. It's as simple as that. All right, give it a description. This is a seed. This is a demo to publish an AJS to seed app as a GitHub page. All right, and you publish the repository. There it is. It goes pushing basically to GitHub. And if you go and refresh your profile, this should have, there it is. It's there. And if you take a look at it, it has all these things in there, all right, that you created. Now, what's really crucial for you to understand, if you go to Sublime, actually, if we go to the terminal and we show the folder, you see that there is a node modules. First of all, the node modules is not showing in Sublime because I've gone to Sublime and it's a configuration of asset not to ignore node modules during search or displaying node modules in this left panel, the folder panel. And obviously, every time I want to search for some variable under this folder, I don't want it to search all the node modules either. Second, when you created this seed directory, already a git ignore was created by Angular. It's not showing here right now, but it's there. And that git ignore, if you go look at it, repository settings, and what is a git ignore? Let me go back to this guy. What a git ignore is that as you're managing your files and developing them, you want some files not to go up to, not to really be affected or be included as part of the Git's tracking. And one of the things that we don't want to load up to our GitHub repo in the cloud, although it does exist locally, are node modules. We don't want all those things to go up there to the host. So going back to the terminal, you're going to see under this particular directory, which is AJS CLI seed, that node modules exist, but they do not exist in the folder structure on the host, because we've told, if you look at it's git ignore, by the way, it's there. We've told Git to ignore that folder. So the question becomes, well, if we need to run this locally, how can this run on the host, and we'll get there. But speaking of running it locally, as you recall, we wanted to have this run, and once we create that directory, all right, we run. I just want to make sure you understand we're in the proper folder again. It's another tab on terminal. And we're going to say, once we seed it with angular-cli, we say ng-serve. And what this happens is this kicks off a server, and you will be able to run this application on localhost port 4200, which is what I'm doing. Oh, well, actually, I don't have it over here, but we'll set it up. So this is going to take a little while to build, and we'll wait for it to build, and we'll come back. Actually, I'm having difficulty pausing this again. I don't know why. All right, so we'll just wait for this to go ahead. And this is going to build. It's going to take a few seconds. And it's going to say it's ready. All right, and we can go over here and type localhost and 4200. We have to wait until it's ready, though. And here it comes. There it is. So it's ready. So let's go to localhost 4200, and there it is. The app works. Okay. So the app is working. Let's do a minor modification to the app. You don't have to do this. I just want to make sure that I have this in place. So at this point, I'm gonna, you see it says app works. I'm gonna say Mo's app works, and I'm going to save it. And what's interesting, the system that we have in angular-cli, once I save that file with the new code on Sublime, angular-cli detects it, and it invalidates the content of the server, and it's going to rebuild and recompile, start the local host on its own. It's going to refresh it. So this is going to take a few seconds, and there it is. It's coming up. Mo's app works, which is great. So anyhow, what we've done, we have actually, and if you go look at GitHub, if you look at the GitHub client, you're going to see that there's one uncommitted change. I just modified, put my name in there, added Mo, and I'm going to commit it, and now I'm going to sync it with the host. So if you go look at GitHub now, you'll be able to see the index under, I'm sorry, not the index, but that particular source file should be properly, there it is, the Mo's app works. So now it is properly pushed and committed and available on host. Now, so the steps we took was one, first to create a folder, a seed folder for Angular. The second thing we did, we added it to a repository and pushed it to GitHub, and that repository now is called AJS CLI seed. Of course, that's gave it the same name as the folder. You don't have to do that, but that's good practice. That's what I do. All right. Now, we have that. Let's see. All right, so let's go ahead and make this a GitHub project. And how do we do this? All right, the way we do it is that we go to the project directory, and there we are, and we actually give let me make sure, control. How do that's a brilliant thing with Angular-CLI is that once you have that project, you will be able to deploy that project as a page on GitHub, okay? And There's an interesting thing here, and this is the command you have. Again, it always starts with ng, and the parameters you pass to ng is GitHub Pages, okay, and you see deploy. So basically what this is saying is that I want to deploy this Angular project as its own page on GitHub so I can share with others. So the repository is already created, but I also want to be able to share it with others so they can run it, so that you can run this as if GitHub were a host, and it is true. The issue is, and this goes to what we were talking about with respect to node modules, on our local device, we have node modules, which I'm not showing here. All right, we have node modules. Let me go and show it. Hold on a second. PWD, we need that there. There it is, ls. And so we have node modules, but they do not really exist on host. So how is this going to run? Well, what this command does, up and above deployment, it also builds the project. So by building using Webpack, and if you go to angular-cli's GitHub page, you see instructions how to do this. It just includes, it takes all these files and creates a few files, one of them being a main.bundle.js, and we don't have to show all that or anything like that. And it's going to take everything it needs from node modules, and it's going to include it in one file. All right, so that is why we didn't want to upload or manage node modules or push node modules to that particular repo on GitHub. We just don't need them, because with Angular, or as any part of your development and build process, you do not want to, you're bringing in your third-party libraries into basically one file, and you minimize it, and you uglify it, and you publish it, and your index points to it. So that covers this. So this is not only putting it up there, but it runs a build process rather than just a development where you can see your code. It puts a mapping in there as well, so you can debug your build, but more importantly, it is built into one single file, which I believe is called main.bundle.js. Another item is that because those, as I said, node modules are no longer available, we want to make sure that, well, this doesn't have anything to do with node modules. Note that we have this project running on localhost with respect to a particular base URL. So all the files are relative to a particular folder, root folder, which is this. That's not going to work on Angular, on GitHub's page. So you have to tell this, whatever is being built out there, that, hey, your base URL is different, and it should be based on your project name, all right? And your project name that is suffixed to your GitHub project, your personal project page, all right? So let's give the project name is, what is it? I hope we have to make sure we type this correctly. The project name is AJS CLI seed. All right, and there it is. All right, and and of course another critical thing, and this is a pretty complex command, because as I said, it manages the base reference, root folder that this is pointing to. And in case of your GitHub repo, that root folder is this. It's going to be this. All right. And let me make sure I do this right. All right. And also, I hope I typed this right, because it's going to kind of screw things up. But anyhow, another thing it does, it actually goes through a build process. And when it deploys to GitHub, GitHub bases its page off a different branch. Right now we have a master branch over here. If you look at the different branches here, let me just click on it. There's only one branch. It's called master. But this process is going to create another branch called GH Pages, which is GitHub Pages. And your GitHub page and all the content is going to be on that branch. The minified files, the build files, the uglified files, and the new index that points to the proper base URL, etc., etc., all right? And it's going to check that out, and it's going to basically revert to that branch. So this is critical because when you come back to Sublime, you're going to suddenly see all your files have gone. And a lot of people think that their files have been deleted. They have not been deleted. You have just switched to the GH branch. And all you have to do is when you go back to your client, GitHub client, revert back to your GH branch. Right now, the branch you're in is master. So deploying as a, all right, so there it is. I've got a proper command, and let's hit enter. All right, see what happens. So this should basically build, again, this is building that application. It is deploying it to GitHub in a different branch called GH-pages, and it's also changing the root folder, the base reference to this particular folder. And as part of the build and commit message that you need with Git, the message is deploying as a GitHub page with a proper base URL. That's what I gave. So it's doing something, all right? And this is going to take a while, and we're going to take a short pause until this comes back. So we just ran that command, which is to deploy to our seed project as a GitHub project page. Okay, and this is the command that we ran. There it is, ng GitHub deploy and all that. Now, it tried to do a bunch of things, and what's great about the build process, a lot of the code that is and assets that are not being used are shed and shook away. So this is one of the ways that your final bundle project is a lot smaller, other than the minification that happens. And these are all the things that have been shaken away during the build process as part of what Webpack does, I suppose. However, an error came back, and it's crucial for you to see this. The error that came back saying that I couldn't do this, and the reason is that that basically GitHub Pages doesn't recognize Git LFS. It's not geared for that. And to accommodate this, you have to go in and basically remove git hook, this file, git hooks pre-push. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to our directory, and there it is. And let's go to git, and let's go to hooks, and where's pre-push? There it is. I don't like deleting things. I'm just going to rename it, all right? And every time I rename things, I make it X, indicating it's old. And there it is. Now, I'm going to run this command again. And hopefully it's going to take a lot less longer. But let's see what happens. So that command is being run now without that pre-push in place. And let's see what happens. This shouldn't take as long as before because a lot of the processing has been already done. Okay, so we saw the error that this command invoked in terms of not being able, that Git was not compatible with LFS, and we went and we renamed the pre-push in hooks under .git in that directory, and we ran this command again, and it actually came back as complete. So as a summary, what is this command doing? And what did it do? What it did was that it actually deployed GitHub Pages locally on this machine, on my machine, and it did it by first creating a new branch off of master called gh-pages, and reverted to that new branch and committed these new minified, uglified, and tree shaken items into that new branch. And let's take a look. And there it is. This new directory has been updated to this. And you might ask, whoa, what happened to my code? Where is it? This is all minified. This is not what I had before. Did I lose it? The answer is no, you did not lose it. And I'll tell you what happened is because if you go look at your GitHub client, you're going to see the branch has changed to GH pages, right? And it is still everything that has been done locally, and you're going to see a button here, which mine says sync because I've already clicked it once. But after this ng GitHub deploy command is complete, the first time, that is, this guy is going to show publish, okay? And when you publish this, this is actually going to take the new code over here, the new minified tree shaken code that is production code ready to go, and it's going to push it to the Git server on the GitHub on the cloud, and you can run it from there. Now, before, and I've already published it, all right, so we'll go there in a few seconds. But going back to what happened to my original code? Where is my development code? All right, that's a good question. A lot of people get confused. They think that this deployment command has blown the code away. It's not true. It's just that it's already in the master branch. Of course, if you know how GitHub works, you can set up different types of branches for different feature sets and different items as you develop through that application's history. But right now we are using the master branch, and as you see, as I reverted to master branch, Sublime is showing the original code. Now, if you go back, and you can look at it different ways, if you look at the terminal and you list items in the directory, it is your development code. Now, if you revert back to the GitHub Pages branch, where it is, your application is going to run on GitHub. Once you publish it, you're going to see that the contents of the directory are going to be reverted to what it is when it's built. And if you do ls, of course, it's going to show the same thing. All right, so no, your code has not disappeared. All right, so now we have this on GitHub. Let's take a quick look. By the way, if you look at localhost 4200, that is running, and that is through the ng-serve mechanism that we have running. All right, so you don't need this, obviously. This is just for local development, so we can kill it if we want. This has nothing to do with what's running on GitHub on the cloud. So let's just close it, and we can also kill this ng-serve process by hitting Control-C. This is just cleanup. This is not mandatory for you to have GitHub the GitHub page for this application run on the server. So let's go to GitHub, and let's look at your profile. All right, and this is my profile, and here we are. What has happened since we've done all this? First of all, we know this was up there. This was before our deployment. We just had created a repository, all right, and though that code is there, note what we're looking at is the master branch, all right? It is the master branch. This deployment command, CLI, created that other branch, which wasn't available until we actually published it via this. It wouldn't have been there, but now that we have, we see this new branch, GH branch here. If you click on it, you're going to see this is where the code is, okay? Now, what's interesting, why don't you take a look at index.com? Do you remember the dash base href? Well, the dash base href is referring to this base tag in your index.html, and you're going to see it's correctly set to what it would be to make this application effectively run on GitHub. So If you recall, how do you actually run it? You're looking at the repository. Great, we've seen this before. How do you run it? We just copy the name of the project. We go to another tab. All right. We go to another tab and type in our own personal GitHub page URL, and we suffix it with the name of the project. We hit enter, and lo and behold, this AJS2 project is now running in GitHub, and GitHub is serving it up to us. And just so that you see, make sure you understand, if you look at the elements, it's and look at the index, you're going to see that it's probably set up the base ref, and of course it's pointing now to the proper bundle. All the code that you've written, all the node modules, everything are watered down to minified and tree shaken to this one file. Thank you, Webpack. Thank you, angular-cli. I hope this is going to help, and ping me. You can get to my GitHub page through there, and or make comments on these series of YouTubes or this particular YouTube, and I appreciate it. Good luck.